Everybody is addicted to some form of social media, some form of scrolling, some sort of like dopamine addiction of that sense. If you don't want to admit it, that's perfectly fine, but you know you do. Deep down, there is something, okay, that is always causing you to just be doing this online. Like guys, I even with as much as I talk about it, if you go look at my other socials, I'm always talking about, stop scrolling, doing all this. And I am firmly against the whole doom scrolling thing. And I could go for hours and hours talking about it. But I fall short sometimes too. Like whenever I go to check my phone for like analytics, I was like, oh, let's go check my Instagram, see how it's doing. Okay. I go check my Instagram. Boom. A reel shows up on my like feed, and then it's like, okay, maybe let me just see what this is about. Watch the video, and then immediately 30 minutes later, it's like the 30 minutes just went by. I was sat there scrolling, and then the worst thing is you forget what you do. Okay, you have like 99% of people have ran into this problem. They scroll. Okay, they go on their phone to do something, right, and then they ended up getting distracted. Excuse me, by doom scrolling. And then later, once they actually snap out of it, finally, after 30 minutes or so, they forget it, right? They completely forgot what they were going to do, okay? And this and many reasons is why social media and the algorithm, okay, that is built by the smartest people in the world, it has you by a chokehold like this. It literally has you by your neck. And you are like, everybody has become a slave to it. Like 99%, I would say almost all of the population, except the high elites who run the whole thing, are slaves to social media. That is it. Okay, that's how everybody learns everything. That is how you get all your information. That is how you learn about stuff. That's just it's essentially how you do everything now is through social media. And through there, people have really taken advantage of just trying to just hook you, right? And like I said, guys, the algorithm itself, the most important thing, it has been designed and developed by the smartest people on earth. I kid you not, the smartest coders, the smartest computer scientists, programming, the smartest people you could gather essentially into a room that has anything to do with social media, content, coding, everything. Okay, computer science. The smartest people in the world are like sitting in a room, and they are thinking out. They are designing this algorithm just so that it can become the most destructive to your mind as humanly possible. And the reason why it's so destructive is not just because of what I mentioned earlier, the fact that you just completely forget your whole train of thought and get just addicted into this motion of just scrolling, right? But it's also in the sense where your algorithm, your feed, okay, is shaping your identity and you don't know it. And I've talked about this before, but you guys have definitely heard the whole term of like you are what you consume. Okay, it's kind of cliche. I wouldn't say it's cringe, but it's definitely a very top of funnel term as you're looking at self-improvement terms, like you are what you consume and stuff like that. And of course there's spin-offs, but it's so true at the end of the day. Okay, what you are constantly intaking is what you become to be. Okay, that builds your identity. So if you are watching self-improvement videos on YouTube, if that is all you're consuming, if you're consuming stuff on how to make money, that is it, right? That's who you end up becoming. You end up becoming somebody who either like has the strong desire to make money or just makes the money. It's usually you just end up making the money itself because you make the version of you who is making money your whole identity through the stuff that you watch online, and therefore you become a byproduct of that. Okay, you actually start making money. Anyways, the problem with this is that 90% of people aren't being exposed to that. They're not being exposed. I wouldn't say exposed to self-improvement. Okay, they're not watching that type of stuff. Okay, like if you're watching this video right now, you are different. Of course, you want to become successful. You definitely have just a higher attention span, part of the so-called cliche, very cringe, almost 1%, right? Don't really like to use that term much, but for the sake of the video, for the sake of the situation, whatever. Um, but most people aren't obtaining this knowledge. They're not watching these videos, okay? They're stuck watching brain rot. They're watching this just awful, degenerate content, okay? And a lot of it, I think, has to come from streamers. I'm not saying all streamers are bad and like streamers are a bad thing. No, like people like what's his name, Jinxie and like Queso and so. I mean, they have their wholesome moments. They have their good moments, right? But I mean, people are so hooked to that stuff, and I think the worst one is like when you look at like Clavicular. You guys definitely know who he is. I mean, become so popular through streaming, and just kind of have brought this whole like, I don't know, persona of you like truly trying to max out your looks. And there's nothing wrong with you trying to look better, right? As a man, you know, and looking better. I mean, just go to the gym, eat healthy, have a good sleep schedule, and just continue to feed your mind good, valuable information, read books, watch good videos, stuff like that. And that truly just helps you level up. Of course, take care of your skin, take care of your hair, watch the way you dress, stuff like that, right? But whenever you have people like Clavicular who take it to the extreme and promote this whole like men wearing makeup in order to look good, or like getting surgery on their face just so they can look like the best, right? So they can have the best, I mean, like jawline or whatever, right? It's destructive, okay? Because the problem with that is you're not going to look like that for forever, okay? If you're trying to look like he is, and let's just take him for example, Clavicular, right? He's not going to look that way forever. Okay, he can do all he wants, spend all the money he wants to look the absolute greatest, but that is his main obsession, okay? And the truth is, you don't look like that forever. So, what happens when you stop looking as good, okay? When that becomes your whole obsession and you eventually start to not look as good just through being a human, right? Aging, you start to become so severely depressed and just out of it, because your whole motive, your whole just reason for everything, for living essentially, is gone, right? And that is the dangerous thing about things like that. But also when you look at just like the brain rot content that's being put out nowadays, like triple T tongue sahur, right? I mean, just stuff like that. It's so like ridiculous and stupid that it's like it's hilarious sometimes. It's like how do people watch that, right? And people do. Like the majority of the population has been so dumbed down by the algorithm by doing this that they will just sit there for hours watching this degeneracy and just absolute piece of shit of content. Sorry for my swearing, but it's true. And they will sit here and do this for hours on end, and it dumbs them down so much that that is who they like become, okay? That is your identity, okay? If you're somebody who continues to watch degenerate content, you start to become a byproduct of that. Okay, it's just that it's the exact same thing. And like in terms of success porn, if you guys have heard of that. All right, success porn, you know, watching somebody be successful online, like watching a TGAR edit, it makes you feel the sense of dopamine. It's like, yeah, it makes you feel like you've already done it in a sense. You definitely know what I'm talking about. Whenever you feel that dopamine hit, that really good hit from like a really cool edit about somebody who's become successful in like TJR or like Togi or somebody like that. Whenever you see an edit of them and they're like successful and everything, you kind of like, people like to relate themselves to that. And I'm guilty of this myself, okay? I have like related that to me. It's like, yeah, like I'm the person to do that. Like that is me, bro. Like that's what I watch. That's me, okay? And people get addicted to that, and they make themselves feel like they're actually doing something in terms of like becoming successful, but they're not. They're not doing anything in the end. And it's just destructive. It's just destructive. So the only way to not let your algorithm, which another thing, when we look at politics, right, this is why we have just this giant political tension nowadays, okay? I'm not going to sit here and talk about politics because I'm not that person, right? And if you genuinely, I believe if you like if you are invested in politics, I think in any way, you will have aligned yourself with the lowest possible class in today's society, because those people who are so invested in politics, they are just miserable human beings, and they center all their energy around something they can't even change. I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. That's for a completely like whole new video. But the reason why we see political tension nowadays is because people, they have nothing going for them, right? They sit all day just scrolling, doing this all day, and they have essentially amounted themselves to nothing, right? They don't feel like they're worth anything. So then whenever they see politics, they see these issues that are going on. They can, like, through the algorithm pushing out this content, it makes them feel like they're actually worth something if they go and like contribute to these political issues, which is why you see riots and protests and everything. People think they're doing something, but they're not. Okay, they want to feel special by like implying themselves to some issue, thinking they're actually like helping anything, but they're not. Okay, in reality, they're just destroying their own mental health, their own mental state, and their future, right? And the only way, what I'm getting to is that the only way you can actually stop this whole algorithm having you by the chokehold, is creating more than you consume, right? Everybody consumes, right? Like I said, 99% of the population addicted to doing this, scrolling and not just like an hour a day. Like they will spend people spend legit like 14 hours a day on a phone, on TikTok, doing whatever. Okay, 14 hours of you selling your soul to the algorithm and creating an identity for you, and you don't even know it. But the only way you can stop that is by putting your own insights into the world. And I'm not saying like you have to do content creation, even though that is obviously, it's a gold mine right now because everybody's consuming, right? So why don't you take advantage of it? But I'm using my content creation in a sense to actually help people get off the phone, right? Get off the scrolling, improve their lives, most especially young men. That's a whole nother topic. But you create more than you consume. And the reason that helps is that, like I said, you're giving the world your insights. You're not letting anything determine what you think. You are creating more. You're putting more out into the world rather than the more you are intaking, right? And it's just by proxy, you start to develop your own identity through the stuff that you post, through the stuff that you actually find value in. And you start to become your own true self rather than this algorithm actually giving you this identity for you. It's so dangerous. Thank you guys for watching. If you stick to the end of this, comment the mountain emoji, just a single peak emoji, just symbolizing how peak this video was for you. If it helped, be sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. God loves you. God bless.